This is the newsroom for today, Friday, May 7, 2021. We're broadcasting to you on E1 Scar TV, NTN, and Tarsi TV in Bartica. In the headlines, the head of the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry links hike in food prices to increased shipping costs. A man who was sentenced to death by hanging for stabbing his wife to death has his sentence commuted to 25 years in prison. More vaccines for Guyana in the coming weeks as 4 more die from COVID-19.
I want to assure Guyanese that our plan is to return this country and economy to normalcy as fast as possible.
And in sport, GFF President confident Golden Jaguars can progress to the next stage of World Cup qualifiers. With the news, I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. We start off by telling you that Guyana, like the rest of the world, is being faced with a steady hike in the price for food and other commodities. And this, according to the president of the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Timothy Tucker, has much to do with the increase in shipping costs.
From eggs and milk to even bread and cheese, basic food items have increased not just in Guyana, but worldwide. And this increase has caught the attention of the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry. President Timothy Tucker, while concerned about the hike in prices, stated that it is mainly due to the global increase in shipping costs caused by the pandemic.
If you would have asked somebody who shipped a container from China maybe a year and a half ago, the cost of that, it would have been about $2,000, $3,000 US for maybe a 20-foot container. Now it's about $6,000 to $7,000 US for a 20-foot container. So that goes to show that the cost of shipping has tripled, right? And that now will definitely affect your prices of food on the market.
The GCCI head explained that the pandemic has severely affected major food-producing countries like Brazil, Mexico, and India, with a ripple effect felt in Guyana.
Have to realize too that Guyana by itself has a heavy importation bill. So because you have a heavy importation bill, that leads now to that makes the cost of shipping really affect the basket of goods, versus if we were producing and manufacturing half of these products, it would still have affected us somewhat, but not as great as it is at the moment.
The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, in its May 6th report, confirmed the hike, noting that the global food prices have seen a steady increase for the 11th consecutive month in a row. For the newsroom, I am Shakima Day.
We tell you now that Rupert Brown, called Birdman, who was in 2014 sentenced to death by hanging for the murder of his reputed wife, Seema Singh, on Friday had his sentence reduced to 25 years by the Court of Appeal. On October 17, 2014, High Court Judge Justice Brassington Reynolds had imposed a death sentence on Brown after a 12-member jury found him guilty of murdering Singh. Dissatisfied, Brown, with the aid of his attorney Mark Conway, moved to the appeal court to have his conviction and sentencing overturned. Conway had argued that his sentencing was excessive and was unconstitutional. The appeal was heard before the Chancellor Acting of the Judiciary, Yonit Cummings Edwards, and Justices of Appeal, Don Gregory and Rishi Prasad. The state was represented by Prosecutor Tishana Lake. State Prosecutor Lake, in her submission to the court, had conceded that instead of the death sentence, the trial judge should have imposed a term of years or a life sentence onto Brown. Delivering the ruling of the court, Justice Cummings Edwards, among other things, commended the state prosecutor for taking such a stance. The appeal court upheld the conviction and commuted a death sentence to 25 years. According to reports, on May 29, 2011, Singh, aged 30, was murdered at Helena No. 1 Village, Mahaika, East Coast, Demerara, where she went to visit her 2 children. Brown, who became annoyed since Singh failed to return within a certain time to their Richmond Village, Essequibo Coast home. He went in search of Singh and confronted her at Helena No. 1 Village, and she refused to return home with Brown due to him being allegedly abusive. In a fit of rage, Brown grabbed Singh and stabbed her several times about the body with a sharp object. Singh was rushed to the Georgetown Public Hospital, where she later succumbed. The Ministry of Education on Friday signed a contract with International Import and Supplies to expand and rehabilitate the Northwest Maburuma Secondary School under the Guyana Skills Development and Employability Project through funding from the Caribbean Development Bank. The expansion is to cater for the delivery of technical and vocation education. Daniel Swain reports.
The contract caters for a 2-story practical instruction center, an upgrade of the existing school at MADURO, which serves several communities in the Northwest District of Region 1. At the contract signing ceremony, Minister of Education Priya Manik-Chan said the project will allow the government to enhance the delivery of technical and vocational programs in communities where the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, CSEC, is not popular.
This program here, an $832 million US program, $1,000 US program, is going to allow us to offer to the people of the Northwest District, those students at MADURO, the ability to be able to become more employable, to get more skills, to develop themselves through the usage of this facility. Particularly in these communities, these programs are very important because we're trying right now in the Ministry of Education to match the communities that we see the least interest in writing the CSEC exams with how we could make sure you leave school with qualifications that would make you employable. And these are some of the gaps we're trying to plug. This will help us to do this in this particular community.
The minister also reiterated the importance of contractors making good on their promises after being awarded contracts in what she described as a fair and open process.
That brings me to the issue that we've had to face repeatedly, and it's a serious and vexing issue. And I'm not speaking to this contractor alone, but I am speaking to this contractor today. But to contractors who will engage with the Ministry of Education. It is not because we like to quarrel or I like to be a perfectionist that we ask for quality work delivered in a timely manner. It is because if you don't give us that, you're robbing children and students and people of what we promised them we'd be able to deliver. If you bid for a project and you say, I can do it for X amount in X time, you have to do it for X amount in X time because someone else could have gotten that project because they might have bid a little bit more or said they would take a little bit longer. So when people bid and win work, contractors and companies and individuals, they must be honorable and stick to what they said they can do. I will give you some examples of projects that are lagging way behind in the ministry that have cost large numbers of persons, young people, their families, and the children they will have to suffer. We have a project that is, well, you know, the St. Rose's project. You know, we're closed for this whole year. It would have been nice if we're hammering and nailing and putting sandy stuff when children are out of school. But because we had to retender and go back to bid, people will be in school when we're still doing work there. That's a project that should have finished a year and a half ago. It's not off the ground as yet. We have the Good Hope project, which the contractor has promised us he will give us by the 22nd of May. And from all I'm hearing, that's probably not going to happen. That project started before I left the ministry the last time. 5 generations of people, 5 years of students have missed the opportunity to go there. Their children that they will make in the future will suffer because of that. Yarrow Cabra began, and when we terminated, it was I think at 5 or 8%, and it should have been at about 19%. All the children along the East Bank who are sitting right now in auditoriums could have gotten a school to go to in September, and that won't be possible. All because contractors are taking work that they cannot do and somehow or the other believe that it's a culture in Guyana that the people who are paying them must hold on till they finish. That culture is changing, and the only people who will survive that change of culture are the contractors who are able to pull up their socks.
The improved practical instruction departments will offer Caribbean vocational qualification, CVQ levels 1 and 2, in the areas of commercial food preparation, motor vehicle repairs, cars, lights, and trucks, electrical installation, furniture making, carpentry and joinery, home economics, and housekeeping. The project is funded by the Caribbean Development Bank under the Guyana Skills Development and Employability Project. I am Danielle Swain, reporting for the Newsroom.
When the newsroom returns, the health minister reports no death from those who took the COVID-19 vaccine, and the president announces more vaccines for Guyana in the coming weeks. This is the Newsroom. 4 women died of COVID-19 on Thursday, pushing the country's death toll to 314. The latest deaths were recorded as 2 women from Region 4, ages 52 and 65, a 69-year-old from Region 3, and a 29-year-old from Region 7. The death toll for May thus far is 14. Meanwhile, the Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, in his daily COVID-19 update on Friday, assured that there has been no reports of persons dying after receiving their jabs since the Ministry of Health commenced the countrywide vaccination campaign. Shakima Day reports.
Dr. Anthony, the Minister of Health, in his COVID-19 update on Friday, said the Health Ministry has been closely monitoring persons who have received their first and second doses for drastic changes in their health. But while no such case has been reported, the minister was keen to point out that the possibility still exists for persons to become infected after receiving the vaccine.
We haven't seen. Well, let me rephrase that. We have been monitoring everyone who received their vaccines, and we have been monitoring to see whether or not they get side effects. As far as I'm aware, I don't think we have had any cases of persons dying after receiving their full dose of vaccination. So that's something that we have been constantly checking. So once you have received your 2 doses, we haven't seen anyone who has received those 2 doses and dying from the infection. So that's a very positive thing.
The minister reminded that the COVID-19 virus has a far more detrimental effect on persons with underlying conditions, which is why it is important for those persons to get vaccinated.
And if they get infected, we don't anticipate they will have the severe form of the disease. We have had reports of a few cases like that, and we have tracked those cases, and we haven't seen any adverse outcomes. And those persons were able to get their second dose, and after the second dose, they did fairly well. So we have tracked those as well.
Already, Guyana has seen a high number of older adults being vaccinated. More than 60% of persons 60 years and older have already received their first jab. For those persons in the 40 years to 49 years category, 28.6% received their first dose, while 20.9% received their first jab in the 18 to 39 years category. For the Newsroom, I am Shakima Day.
While Guyana has already administered the first of 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccines to approximately 31% of the targeted adult population, President Irfaan Ali has lamented the low uptake of these vaccines in Region 10. During a Thursday night address to the nation, the president appealed to Londoners to be vaccinated.
While addressing the nation on Thursday night, President Irfaan Ali highlighted that 8 out of Guyana's 10 administrative regions have been able to vaccinate between 30 to 36% of their population aged 18 years and older. However, in Region 8, Pataro Siperuni, and Region 10, the vaccination uptake has not been as high.
Particularly in the case of Region 10, only 8.9% of the population above 18 years took the first dose of the vaccine to date. This is very concerning. This is very alarming. We have been having continuous educational programs. The government, led by the Prime Minister, had an extensive outreach in Region 10 over the weekend. We have seen some improvement, but we need to do much, much better in Region 10.
The low vaccination uptake in Region 10 has been engaging the attention of the local health authorities for some time now. Recognizing the need to engage in extensive vaccination education programs in this region in a bid to encourage individuals to get vaccinated, interventions have been organized. President Ali reminded the public that the region is the gateway to the interior, and as such, residents there could be vulnerable to becoming infected with positive COVID-19 cases imported from Brazil due to illegal border crossings. It is important to know that Brazil has been devastated by a more recently mutated P1 variant of the deadly coronavirus. Cognizant of this, the President noted that the National COVID-19 Task Force has increased patrols along the border to dissuade illegal crossings.
Very concerned also about the continued whisper campaign, not grounded in science or facts, against vaccination. This does not help our communities and country to exit this pandemic. And I appeal to all of us to put our country first, put the lives of the people of our country first, and help in advancing the vaccination program by encouraging every Guyanese to come on board.
Recently, Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony highlighted that the local health authorities have been striving for an equitable rollout of the COVID-19 vaccines. Addressing the low uptake in Region 8, Dr. Anthony said that this region has presented some peculiar challenges to vaccination rollout teams due to the mountainous geography. Nevertheless, he affirmed that the teams will be continuing their outreach efforts there.
Meanwhile, President Ali on Thursday night also hinted that Guyana may be receiving additional sets of COVID-19 vaccines in the coming weeks. Addressing concerns that the ongoing vaccination rollout has not catered for the provision of the second dose of the 3 COVID-19 vaccines, President Ali assured each Guyanese that adequate provisions were made to ensure this.
Within the coming weeks, our plan is to secure enough vaccines to take us to herd immunity. And this is important. I want to assure Guyanese that our plan is to return this country and economy to normalcy as fast as possible. And we're going to invest the necessary resources in the coming week to take us there through herd immunity.
Now, opposition members of Parliament Christopher Jones and Annette Ferguson, along with 4 others, were on Friday released on $20,000 bail each for allegedly participating in an illegal procession. Jones and Ferguson, along with Mark Griffith, Travis Ellis, Gordon Lucas, and George Halley, all appeared before Magistrate Leron Daly at the Georgetown Magistrates Court and pleaded not guilty to the charge. Gary Morris and Malcolm Billison were also charged jointly but were absent in court. This caused Magistrate Daly to issue a summons for them. Jones, Ferguson, Griffith, Ellis, Lucas, and Halley were charged in relation to gathering outside the High Court for the elections petition ruling. They denied that on April 26, 2021, between Crowell and Regent Streets, Georgetown, took part in a procession without the permission of the Chief Officer of Police, having first been obtained. They were each released on $20,000 bail. Meanwhile, Ferguson was slapped with a separate charge for allegedly obstructing a police officer while in the execution of his duties on the same day and location. She pleaded not guilty to the charge and was released on $10,000 bail. The matter was adjourned until May 14 for statements. The defendants were represented by attorneys at law Darren Wade, Geeta Chandan Edmund, Joseph Harmon, and Ronald Daniels. Outside of court, Harmon spoke to the media and said that the charges against his clients were trumped up and are politically motivated. Wade said that the charges are frivolous and vexatious and will be dismissed eventually. This is the Newsroom. An intervention by the Ministry of Labour with the Surinamese management of To All Guyana Inc. following complaints in relation to the company's failure to honour Guyana's labour laws on the payment of overtime has seen the issue being remedied. It comes following a meeting between Labour Minister Joseph Hamilton and a team from the Labour Ministry and management team from To All Guyana Inc. on Thursday.
The Ministry of Labour had summoned the management of To All Guyana Inc. to a meeting after aggrieved workers had reached out concerning the company's failure to pay overtime and the implementation of foreign rules in relation to the issue. Reporting on that meeting on Friday, Minister of Labour Joseph Hamilton said the company has acknowledged the implementation of an illegal job bank. He said the company's management, which included General Manager Earl Caribon and Operations Manager Ashwin Takai, both Surinamis, explained that the practice was legal in other Caribbean countries where they operate, and it was being implemented in Guyana because of COVID-19 and the impact it has had on business.
Acknowledge it, and they apologized for breaking the law, and they said it has stopped, and they have brought up to date all the overtime for the staff that were due them. And that was done in conjunction with conversations they had with the union representing the workers there.
The company was seeking to introduce a system where instead of paying overtime, workers will be given back the hours as days off. According to the laws of Guyana, overtime is to be paid after every 8-hour shift. Workers who have challenged the company on the issues have also complained of threats and intimidation from management. Hamilton said this was also being raised during the meeting and an explanation was offered.
The second issue was where the allegation about threats. They said that what the discussion centered around some new policy regarding whistleblowers they have in the company. So some persons might have misinterpreted what the conversation was. I'm just telling to you as it was told to me.
Right.
Right, they were talking about whistleblowers in the sense of people seeing any act that is inimical to the company, for them to report, and they're protected, and that kind of thing.
He said the ministry will continue engagements with Sol Guyana to guide the management in keeping with Guyana's labor laws on a range of issues, including occupational health and safety. An employee who spoke with the newsroom on Friday but asked to remain anonymous explained that while the apology from management is welcomed, their actions going forward will be under heavy scrutiny. The employee said that when the issue was first raised with the union several weeks ago, the company had apologized and still continued to implement the job bank idea up until the intervention of the Ministry of Labor.
Now, hundreds of households in Madya and surrounding communities in Region 8, Putaro Siparuni, were provided with COVID-19 food relief hampers recently. The distribution exercise was led by the Minister of Amerindian Affairs, Pauline Sukai, in collaboration with the Regional Democratic Council, the Civil Defense Commission, and the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs, among others.
We are targeting every family or every household, and we started this exercise yesterday. We have on our list of communities to benefit from the hampers, the COVID-19 relief hampers. We will be providing to Campbelltown. We've already provided to Mycobi, and of course the Madya Township, which includes Bryan-Sucre Junction, Central Madya, El Paso, etc. We're hoping that as a government we bring some level of support and relief to the families and the impact of COVID-19. During the exercise, we're also using the occasion to address the issue of the vaccination program. We are encouraging families, especially those 18 years and over, to ensure that they are vaccinated. We also are supporting and endorsing the campaign to ensure that everyone wears a mask and that they sanitize their hands and they stay a safe distance from each other so as to prevent the contraction of the virus, of the COVID-19 virus. There's been many questions in the past, and I suppose we've been explaining that the vaccination program doesn't avoid you from getting COVID, but what it avoids you from is dying from the virus if you contract it. And it also aids with the severity of the symptoms. So all in all, what we are doing is that Madya Township and Subregion 2 are now benefiting from relief program. This is like a second wave of support from the government of Guyana. The first wave was to ensure that everyone received their 25,000 cash grant. And so the hamper is a follow-up, basically to ensure that families who are still vulnerable, who are still reeling from the impact of COVID-19, that they are provided with support. Particularly in the mining community, there's been a downturn in the production in some locations, and families who depend on mining, especially small miners, have most welcomed the support.
A 22-year-old laborer was on Friday remanded to prison for the murder of Jamal Adams, aged 29, who was stabbed to death during an argument over a cellular phone at Back Circle, East Rhineville, Georgetown last Saturday. Rondell Richardson appeared before Magistrate Shardell Isaacs Marcus at the Georgetown Magistrates Court and was not required to plead to the capital offense, which alleged that on May 1, 2021, he murdered Adams of Cooper Street, East La Penitence. He was remanded to prison until May 25 for statements. According to a police report, on the day in question at around 15:20, Richardson and Adams were seen by eyewitnesses arguing over a cellular phone. It is alleged that Richardson stabbed Adams to the chest with an unknown object. Adams then ran, but Richardson gave chase and stabbed him in the back with a pair of scissors. Adams collapsed and Richardson dropped a black object as he escaped. The eyewitness went to help Adams and saw part of the scissors stuck in his back. Adams was taken to the Georgetown Public Hospital and went into surgery immediately. He subsequently succumbed to his injuries. The police had issued a wanted bulletin for Richardson, who was later arrested and charged for the offense. The Minister of Public Works, Juan Edgel, on Thursday urged residents of South Rhineville, Georgetown to grab the online scholarships being offered by the government. During a community outreach at the North Rhineville Secondary School, Minister Edgel said the program, which offers a wide range of courses, is open to all citizens and is meant to give those without the financial means to widen their academic horizon and even caters for those who have had no formal qualifications.
Once people are given opportunities, the sky is the limit. So this afternoon, I don't come here as a representative of the government to offer you charity. I come to offer you opportunity. Most people ask, what you bring for me? What you got for me? Left something with me. No matter what I give to you, it would only last for a season. You got your COVID assistance, and that was done because its currency is gone. What we are offering here this afternoon, by way of this rollout in South Georgetown, is to ensure that you have equal opportunity and equal access, and you make use of one of the greatest opportunities that have ever come to Guyana by way of this online scholarship program. And that's what I bring to you this afternoon, an opportunity for you to elevate yourself and climb to new levels of greatness.
It's a great program that the government is going on, and I'm very thankful. And I'm also going to apply for the program for childcare, and I think other parents should get on board and get their children on board. It's very good that the government is doing that, and I thank them very much.
Well, I think the programs are unique. I like the fact that they are not competing with anything that's going on at UG. What also I noticed when I looked at the list of programs is that it has a list of modern fields that are now opening up, like data science and some computer programs.
When the newsroom returns, the financial, weather and bird reports along with sport. Welcome back to Newsroom. Now for a look at what's happening in sport. We start things off with some football news. President of the Guyana Football Federation, Wayne Ford, is confident Guyana's senior national men's team, the Golden Jaguars, can progress beyond the current stage of the 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. In an exclusive interview with the Newsroom, Ford also revealed that the local-based players have resumed training at Providence. In their opening games in Group F action in March this year, the Golden Jaguars suffered a 3-0 defeat at the hands of Trinidad and Tobago before rebounding to inflict a 4-0 drubbing on the Bahamas. The Guyanese will now face St. Kitts and Nevis on June 4 and Puerto Rico on June 8, and the aim is to close out the group with back-to-back victories and hopefully advance to the next stage.
We're obviously in a must-win situation if we are to advance, which is one of the key goals that we set ourselves. So I believe that all things being equal, I still feel confident about our chances to progressing to the next round.
Ford noted that the local contingent has resumed training at the National Training Center at Providence with the aim of getting into peak condition for the upcoming games.
Well, I think the preparation of the local players, we are right on track with that. We're working within our means. The guys started with 3 days a week training, and the national team coach were given a break. They were here since last year, November, so we've given them a few weeks off. They're back, and we're going to ramp the training right back up to its usual levels. We're very pleased with the work that's been done by assistant coach Pollard and his local support team, and I'm sure that Coach Maximo is going to now take that up to another notch and we'll be ready. We've all seen the impact our local boys had on the games that we played, and we're very optimistic about the future and the reshaping of the national team.
It is likely both games will be held in St. Kitts, as the Puerto Rico match, which was supposed to be held in Guyana, will have to be held overseas due to the COVID-19 situation here.
There is no indication that we can host that game in Guyana. I think as the numbers continue to show troubling signs of the pandemic, I don't think the GFF or the government of Guyana want to trouble themselves in managing the influx of a new team. There's so many protocol that FIFA will dictate. But outside of that, I would have said earlier, the trouble with our international players who will have to return after those games and the requirement for them to quarantine for, I think, 2 weeks at a time and all that would be very challenging. Their clubs will be very hesitant to release them. So we are working to confirm the venue for the Puerto Rico game, and that should be announced very soon.
The victory over the Bahamas pushed Guyana to third on the table on 3 points. Trinidad and Tobago sits second on 4, while St. Kitts and Nevis lead the table with the maximum 6 points from 2 matches. Puerto Rico, 1 point, and Bahamas, 0, complete the table. Only one team would advance from this group to the next round. Reporting for Newsroom, I'm Avinash Ramzan. Meanwhile, President Ford is optimistic a just ruling will be made in the protest put forward by the Federation to FIFA regarding the selection of Andrew Bukad by Trinidad and Tobago in the 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifiers in March. The GFF believes Bukad was ineligible for selection as a registered intermediary, and as such that any points secured by Trinidad and Tobago during any FIFA World Cup related matches should be forfeited. Trinidad and Tobago had defeated Guyana 3-0 back in March. Under FIFA rules, all conflicts of interest with intermediaries or agents must be avoided. Intermediaries cannot have any contractual relationships with a National Football Association.
With regards to the protests, we are patient. We did make what I believe is a very compelling case, and we have to trust the processes at FIFA. We know that FIFA is keen on protecting the integrity of football, and ignorance of the law is no excuse, even in our everyday lives. So we are patient, we trust FIFA, and we look forward to a just outcome of the matter that we have placed before the FIFA administration. Confident it will be a just ruling.
Now, 9 of the original European Super League clubs, including the Premier League's Big Six, have been given a financial punishment by UEFA. The 9 clubs, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur, plus AC Milan, Inter Milan and Atletico Madrid, have also committed to the European governing body and its competitions. However, Real Madrid, Barcelona and Juventus are set to face appropriate action on the UEFA's disciplinary process. The 9 clubs have agreed to make a combined €15 million goodwill contribution to benefit children's and grassroots football across Europe. They will also have a 5% of UEFA competition revenues withheld for 1 season, and this money will be redistributed, including in the UK. The European Super League was announced on April 18, but within 48 hours the plans had fallen apart, with the English clubs withdrawing after fan protests and UK government pressure. Cricket news now. Cricket West Indies lead selector for women and girls cricket, Anne Brown-John, hopes that a ripple effect of more contracts for the women will be better performances and inspiration for more persons to join the pool in the Caribbean. More from Akim Green.
CWI has expanded the number of West Indies women's players offered to retain the contracts for the 2021-2022 season to a record number of 18 players. This is an increase of 3 retainer contracts compared to the 2020-2021 season. Speaking at the virtual press conference on Friday, Brown John indicated they want to see the players value the rewards with better performances.
Definitely so. It is really a pleasure for us to have the additional contracts. You would recognize the fact that we have not been able to have a regional tournament last year and this year. So that would have given us an opportunity to see more players. Not having seen them in a competitive arena, we thought it would be good if we could put some other players, can be put on contract, some young players who will recognize the fact that one, that Cricket West Indies is interested in them. Two, that they have seen the work that they have done and what they can do. And it also gives the coaches, the technical staff, everybody an opportunity to focus a bit more on these young players and see, what they can produce for us and where they can go from there. Because I'm sure you will realize when a player gets a contract, they know immediately that not only are the eyes a lot more on me, but I have a lot more work to do. So, we thought that this was really positive, that Cricket West Indies has seen the need to do this.
Contracts are offered for the first time to developing young players, Casey Schultz and Quiana Joseph. Schultz is among 5 Guyanese offered contracts, the others being the experienced Shemaine Campbell, Sherian Fraser, Shabika Gajnabi, and Shanita Gridman. According to CWI, there has been a lack of left-arm orthodox bowlers in the region. Therefore, Joseph and Schultz will hopefully fill this void. Women's head coach Courtney Brown indicated he saw great potential to give the uncapped Schultz a developmental contract. The 24-year-old's maiden West Indies camp was back in July 2019.
Yeah, she was very good in the camps. She's got the right attitude. She's doing everything that is required and that the coaches are looking for. Plus, there's potential there as well. So you want to try to sort of get that going on. And as Ms. Brown just mentioned, because we have the lack of cricket being played so far in the region, and it's important that we try to engage and keep these girls focused. So as she mentioned, with the contract, they know that we're looking at them, and it's encouragement to work a lot harder as well.
Currently, 30 players are in Antigua for an estimated month-long West Indies women's high-performance camp, which started on May 2nd. To fill the void of regional cricket since the pandemic, CWI has constantly held these camps, and both selector and coach are happy with the enthusiasm shown by the players. This is the second such month-long camp in 2021, assembled under the guidance of head coach Courtney Walsh and his support team.
As a coach, I'm happy for the energy that all the players are bringing. Obviously with Campbell, their experience and stuff, but also just the enthusiasm from all the girls who was coming to camp, and the Guyanese are no exception. They've shown that they want to be here, they want to be a part of it, just like the rest of the girls. So we're trying to create a culture where everybody is in it together and everybody wants to be a part of it. Wherever you come from. So we're trying to create a family environment here. And the ladies are very, very open to that and very happy with that. So everybody bring their own energy and expertise as well. So for me, that's what I'm working on creating.
When we look at players, whether for selection, whether for contracts, we don't, of course, look at country or where they're from. We look at what we are looking for in this setup and what these players can bring to us. And, we have looked at, if you look at some of the young ones who have come in, we know that we had need for left-arm bowlers, we have need for a left-arm batter, we had need for maybe additional fast bowlers. So whichever country they're from or where whatever they are doing, it doesn't matter. The country doesn't matter. It is what the player brings to us. And I'm saying that all the young players, whether it be Joseph, Schultz, Gajnabi, Grimond, Ramarak, we really like the enthusiasm we are getting from these players. We like that the energy, as Courtney said, that they bring, and we think that our future, the women's cricket future, is going in the right direction.
With the ICC Women's World Cup qualifiers now rescheduled for December, Walsh has devised a program to maximize team preparation ahead of the international cricket and the qualifiers late in the year. 5 teams have already qualified for the World Cup, and West Indies are a part of 10 others seeking the final 3 slots. At the 2017 World Cup, West Indies women did not qualify for the semi-finals. They finished 6th with 2 wins from 7 matches. The Maroon ladies are ranked 6th in both the 50 over and the T20 format. For the newsroom, Akim Green.
And the first Vice President of the Guyana Cricket Board, Hilbert Foster, said he wants to ensure that young cricketers are also able to balance their academics, since the aim is to produce well-rounded cricketers. Foster made this disclosure in a recent interview with Newsroom Sport.
One thing that I strongly believe in, which the Guyana Cricket Board has already started to implement, is that natural talent on its own is not enough. I have seen many very good cricketers who have all the potentials in the world fell through the crack because of poverty, because their parents could not afford to buy a bat. I have seen many cricketers fail because of a lack of education. So, as my administration in Rosal and Berbice does, the Guyana Cricket Board has already started to place a lot of emphasis on education. You might know that on Friday coming, we're launching an educational trust fund for 50 young cricketers across Guyana. And we will also be working very hard to make sure that every single talent in Guyana is fulfilled and that no one does not fall through the crack because of poverty. And it might look simple, it might look stupid to some people, but a bicycle to take a child to practice could make a big difference, because his mother cannot afford a $200 transportation cost every day. So by giving him a bicycle, he'll be able to come to go to school. You can't be a carpenter if you don't have tools. You can't be a painter if you don't have a tool. So we got to make sure that all the cricketers in the country have the tools necessary. A batsman must have a bat, a bowler must have a bowling boots, a keeper must have a wicket-keeping pad and a gloves. And then we provide the coaching, make sure that they maintain discipline. And most importantly, in my personal view, a cricketer without education is like a ship without a captain. So we will have to make sure that they fulfill their potentials in school. A perfect example is Jonathan Rampersad. I think 9 grade 1s and a couple grade 2 goes to the University of Guyana. And as such, he's able to think on the cricket field far faster than those who would have dropped out of school at 1st or 2nd form.
And with that, we've come to the end of the news for this evening. Of course, you can find updates on these and other stories on our website, Newsroom.gy, our Facebook page and Instagram. On behalf of the entire news team, my name is Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching. Be safe. Do have a great weekend. See you back here on Monday.